Hi, my name is Roger Smith, and this is the True Blue Lounge. And my guest today is a 2003 Mannings graduate, the one and only Terrence Fenton. Terrence, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, good, good. Hey, I'm really happy that you're able to humor my platform and allow people to get to know you. Just a couple of questions I got to ask, just go through, fearless authenticity, what it's all about, So let's vibe together and let's see what we can do, yeah? So,
Definitely.
cool, cool. So, my first question to you is what's your drink of choice, Terrence?
Drink and choice. Pretty light, actually. Well, before I came here, it was Magnum tonic wine, right?
Okay.
I prefer sweet drinks. And then when I came here, it was a little bit difficult to get. I live in New York, by the way. It was a little bit difficult to get, so I actually had to switch it up. And I found Malibu. So I go to the bar, Malibu, on the rocks, splash of pineapple just for the flavor, and I'm good.
Malibu, nice, 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 nice. What about your food of choice?
Food of choice. I can't seem to get away from Jamaican food actually. So, so quite often I try to find wherever there's a Jamaican restaurant. If they have ackee, right, throughout the day, it doesn't matter. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner, ackee is going to be the first preference. If they don't have ackee, then I'll probably resort to stew chicken.
And what is the carb that you want with that ackee, sir?
Rice and peas.
Okay,
And
okay.
again, if it's breakfast. No, sorry, not breakfast. That's if it's lunch or dinner. If it's breakfast, then I want ground provision, yam, banana, dumpling.
Okay, okay. I've noticed I can do the banana and the dumpling, but when it comes to the yam and stuff, once I start with the real hard food, I think for me, it it fills me up so well I won't even eat till 5 o'clock if I do that for lunch, so I can't manage that. So when you go to like an American restaurant or say you've got a work function
Mhm.
and it's upscale, what are you ordering? What's your go-to?
That's a difficult thing, right? Because in all honesty, whenever I go to any American establishment, I it's so difficult for me to choose anything, right? Um, I think the probably just pasta, right? And anything with any kind of seafood is easy. Other than that, it gets a little difficult for me because I guess I haven't acquired that taste, or I haven't lost the taste for Jamaican food. So it gets a little difficult when I go to anywhere else.
Okay, okay. Wow, that's amazing. So, since 2003 graduation year, give me a nice little walkthrough of how you got to New York City, the place where Donald Trump has his famous hotel.
So, um, so 2003, I left Mannings at fifth form. Unfortunately, I tried to go back. Well, let's say I tried to go back to sixth form, and even though I had seven CXCs, I wasn't accepted in the sixth form at Mannings. So I ended up going to Monroe College for sixth form.
I got a question. Why do
Hmm.
you think they wouldn't allow you? Used to give trouble or something? I have to ask. I think about them things. Why wouldn't they
Well,
let
that's
you
the
in?
thing. They did say that I was a troublemaker, but I have never been suspended. I've never had detention. The thing is, right? I was a very famous athlete at the school. Everyone knows Terrence, right? You ask anybody from graduated 2003, graduated 2002, graduated 2001, right? So from third farm up, and then from the sixth farm, everyone that was at school when I was in the fifth, third, fourth, fifth farm would have known Terrence, right? Any sports there, they know who Terrence is, right? You're watching champs. I'm one of the guys that you can expect to represent Mannings,
Okay.
right? So, I was very well known. Now, because of that, I guess my name would be called and stuff, but I was never punished for anything while I was there. You know what I mean? As a result of that, they didn't want to take me back at sixth form, which was fine because I got the experience at another school to see exactly what that would be like, right? So, and I guess that in a sense has allowed me to be who I am today, being able to because I draw from different experiences that I've had in different parts of my life. Now, from Monroe, went to university at the University of Wyoming, and I came back to Jamaica, or went back to Jamaica, I should say. Worked there for a while, and in 2020, I flew to New York to where I am now.
And that's how you got there. Okay, okay. So what? So when you represented Mannings for champs, and I'm assuming that if you're going to be a good track athlete, I'm going to assume you can kick a ball too or play cricket or something. So tell us about your Mannings sports.
So, I've always loved track and field. So this predates me going even to Manning school because I went to Froome Prep and I remember at Froome Prep. I don't know if you know the mile relays as it is today, right? Which was before called Western relays. When I was in prep school at Froome Prep, I used to run at Western relays, right? So from a toddler, I was doing track and field,
Right.
right? So that was my first love. However, when I went to Mannings, I started to gain a passion for football,
Okay.
what some people call soccer, right? And I remember one day, I don't remember if it was under 14 or under 16. I went out on the field to go to trials, and Mr. Hughes, the coach at the time, walked out on the field and said, "Listen, come. You can't be a Pele and a Michael Johnson. Come off of the field." So I didn't get the opportunity to really see if I would have had any success over football, right? But I did have a passion for it. I'd play it, so I do track and field training, right, at school, and then as soon as I finish and I go home, I go find a local football field down in the community and go play some ball, or on the weekend and stuff like that.
What was
So
your community, if you don't mind me asking?
George is playing.
Okay, okay, okay.
So I had moved from real rural Blackheath, um, closer to where old Froome, where the Froome Trigger factories. I don't know if you're
Yeah, yeah,
familiar,
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know
right?
it.
So my youngest years, right, as a baby, because my grandfather was um was a supervisor over at the Froome Trigger factory. So we actually lived in one of the plantation houses over in Blackheath,
You know,
right?
before you go on, I remember talking to Marlene Smith. Her dad is something to do with Froome. I'm sure Gabby worked for Froome. Peter Rigg had something to do with Froome. It looks like Froome was the big employer back in the day. Everybody
Well,
was
of
in.
course, remember, Jamaica was a very big export of sugar, right? So if you lived in Westmoreland, you'd have been very familiar, especially back in the day, you'd have been very familiar with how active the Shroom Sugar Factory was,
Same, same.
right? So it was a big employer back in the day. And eventually, I can't say why, but eventually that kind of died down.
All
And
right, just to show you how versatile I am, I'm going to go back to the question I asked you. So, what was the track activities that you done?
so I did the 400 and the 200. So, well, originally. So, a matter of fact, back it up. So, my first time at track and field, I think it was Mr. Dougherty saw me out on the field doing just running up and down. Because again, I did track and field in prep school when I came to Mannings, right? I, it wasn't I didn't really know anything about the track team or anything there. So I wasn't seeking it out, right? And even when I did track and field in the prep school, it was just fun. It wasn't something that it was so much organized, right? So when I went to mining school, it wasn't something I was really looking for. So I was out on the field running up and down, and Mr. Daggett came out there and he's like, "Listen, make sure you come to training this evening," right? So when I went there, I didn't know what I guess I didn't know what I could do, and he didn't know what I could do. So I started with the long jump and the 100 meter, right?
Okay.
And then from there, I kind of was realized that I wasn't that quick out the blocks. I wasn't the most explosive person. So fast, right, but not explosive. So then when I started, when Mr. Hughes came, right, I think I did 1 year doing the 1-2. He recognized, all right, this guy not doing very well over the 100. By the time in pickup speed, the race done already. So he switched me, and I think it was Roderick Miles was one of the guys too. Roderick was also at Mannings when I think I was in, I think it was third form at the time. No, second form. Second form at the time. You know what? I think it was third form. I'll leave it there. Roderick said, this young man looked like he should run a 400. Roderick was a fifth former at the time. All right, so these are big guys, looking at me, the little guy, saying, listen, this guy should run a 400. And when I ran the 400, I think, you know what? I think it's second form. I ran the 400. I didn't make the finals, right? I was I was a first year class 3. I was 13 years old, right? Didn't make the finals, right? And but I was doing okay, right? And then the following year, right? I actually medaled at champs over the 400. I made the finals at champs in the 200, right? And that was where it all just kind of started to flourish for me. But also where it gave me my demise too, because now you're a track star and everybody running over and you're now famous, and then you start give trouble. So, you know, right back to where I started, in the sense that that's probably why I didn't get to go to sixth form at Mannings.
What's your personal best at 400 meters?
So personal best over 400. So unofficial 46. It's unofficial. And official it was 48.
Okay. Hey, you see, when you say these numbers, it goes out into perpetuity. So I'm glad I'm a track man. So I know, once you say 46, I know, say you're decent. You understand? I know that. But a lot of people, they'll see 46 was 46, But that's good. What age were you when you done those sort of times? Let's say
So
47.
so um I remember at 15 was my first pen release. I don't know how familiar you are with high school track and field in that time frame. That's 2004, where the best quarter mile on the island as a schoolboy was at Woolmas, Gregory Little.
Okay.
And Gregory Little got the baton before me at the pen release, right? And remember, I'm a 15-year-old. Gregory Little is the actual gold medalist at champs over the 400 hurdles. Gregory Little get the baton in front of me, and every single person that Gregory Little went around, I circled them as well and handed off the baton in second. And they recorded a 46 split over that 400. Again, that was when I was 15 years old, um, which was phenomenal. We didn't make the finals that year because I believe it was, I don't remember his name off the top of my head. He got an injury on the anchor leg because he got the baton. So once I handed out the baton in second, the third leg brought the baton back in second, and then the ankle leg, he got an injury. I think either on the last 150 and then we fell behind and we didn't make the finals that year.
Wow, you sportsmen in Jamaica, you know, your memories are always pretty sound on, you know, what happened then and stuff. But and this was with Monroe at no, this is Mannings at
No,
this
this was
time.
Mannings because
Okay,
at that time I was 15. I didn't leave Mannings until I was 16 years old.
okay,
Yeah, I left Mannings at fifth form, so I started young, right? I was in fifth form. I was in first form at 12 year old. I was 11 at 11, 12. I was in first form. I left Mannings at 16, and then
okay.
I went to Monroe and did 2 years. So I left Monroe at 18.
There was no appeal for your place in Mannings. You didn't, or you just walked away.
I mean, you know, it's very funny, right? It's very funny and somewhat ironic because Monroe, I remember when I met a champs in 2001 at 14-year old, I was approached by one of the guys from Monroe to do a transfer. I remember the gentleman came to my house in George's Plain and talked to my mother to
Wow.
come to Monroe, and I said no, right? So here I am pushing. I want to stay at my school. I love my school. And then when the time came around for them to try to make sure that, yeah, man, this guy has been loyal to us for 5 years. We want him here for another two.
All right.
They said no.
Tell me, have you done a job that you don't like in since you've been in the US?
I won't say particularly that I didn't like the job, but it was a different experience. So my first job here was at a restaurant. I was actually managing the restaurant, or I was quote unquote supposed to be the manager. But as much as I was the manager of the restaurant, the owner of the restaurant, in some cases, would give me some tasks that kind of was like not managerial task. Like you'd ask me to look online to find flights for someone, and I'm like, that's not a job that is even if I was working at the restaurant for at any level at all. That's not a restaurant task, right? But yeah, I mean, I learned a lot from just being there and pretty much just seeing how restaurants are run and all that kind of stuff. So, but it was a first time experience for me. I've never done any kind of job in any kind of restaurant, so that in itself was different. But I wouldn't say it's a job I didn't like.
Okay, that's a nice positive outlook. Tell me a job that you have done or you do that you really enjoy and why.
So what I do now, right? I genuinely love what I do now. So I'm a financial planner, right? And now, as technical as it can be sometimes, where you know sometimes folks don't want to give you everything, all aspects of their life. They don't want to give you all the information, right? For
Sorry,
me to be
sorry.
able to really
Quick,
analyze.
quick question: is your client based all ethnicities and cultures?
Yes, my client base is
Yes. Okay.
is
Wait. I got a nice follow up question. Do you find culturally that different people hide different kind of things? If you know what I'm trying to say.
I know you were gonna go with that question once I responded
Go ahead.
the way I did prior, but not. Here's what I'll say. I can't say. I have to say to some extent maybe it's a cultural thing, where there are some folks that are not willing to give a lot of information, and sometimes are a little bit more skeptic than needs than is required, right? Like for instance, someone will say to me that they need to get life insurance, right? And then you're like, okay, so what's your social security number? And you're like, wait, why you want my social? Um, which is required for the application, right?
Right.
Um, but I recognize that it is something that is personal, and I try my best to not let it bother me.
Right, right. No, I understand. I understand that. What about hobbies? What are your hobbies? What do you enjoy doing, and do you get time to do it?
Well, I haven't been getting much time, and in fact, I probably need to start making some time. So one of the things that I used to do that I loved very much was diving. I did scuba diving for a part of my life. I was a diving instructor,
Nice.
for a little while I was in Jamaica.
Negril?
Right? Nope. I mean, I've dived in the grill,
Okay.
and that's a whole different topic, right? Like diving in itself was a short a time frame. I think it was probably 2 years or so, maybe three, that I did that. Was like a whole different life, right? Started from working on the beach, right? I managed to working all the way up to where I was managing a whole water sports, to then ultimately started out in diving. So you're doing open water diving, then advanced, then rescue, then dive master, all the way to um to instructor, right? To master scuba diver trainer, and diving in several places, right? Diving in Jamaica, right? Different places in Jamaica: Ocho Rios, Negril, Montego Bay, right? And then diving in other countries like Bahamas and Mexico, right? And in doing so, because I hear a lot of the time, I see people saying Jamaica is the number one place for tourist destination. Jamaica is a very lovely place, right? Well, I find that quite often the people that say that haven't been anywhere else. You know what I mean? Because there are very beautiful places elsewhere. I kind of believe that probably, and I'm not trying to be biased here, one of the most beautiful beaches that I've ever been at was actually in the Bahamas. Funny enough, you know, it was, the beach was very nice. I guess it can be comparable to beaches that we have there in Jamaica. But then one other thing that stood out to me was that the water was almost, I'd have to say probably it's brackish water, because the water was almost like it didn't have any salt.
Wow.
which was fascinating to me, because I've never experienced like going to the beach, going in the water, and it wasn't salty, and I was like, wait, how is this possible,
Right,
right?
right.
um and then diving, I've seen you have difficulty finding a good sized parrotfish in Jamaica, whereas when I dive in the Bahamas, I see parrotfish that is almost as big as me,
Wow.
right? Similarly, in Mexico, they regulate their water so much that you are not even allowed to dive with a knife, right? And it is so difficult to get people not even to fish at a local beach, where they will have signs and no fishing. You have a man stand up right at the no fishing sign with a line and a hook,
Right.
right?
Doing his thing.
And stuff like that. But in any case, sports is usually something I love very much. I used to play a lot of table tennis. I haven't been able to do that anymore, and I've told myself that I need to ultimately try to identify, you know, some kind of curricular activity that I really enjoy, that I would be able to do and still be able to use that as a medium to meet new people. Because of course, running a business does require you to meet people all the time and network and let people know who you are and what you do, right? And in doing so, right, I still get to enjoy myself because I'm doing some kind of activity and still getting the opportunity to meet people. So I'm in that phase right now where I'm trying to figure out, all right, which one of these activities that I love doing that I still will be able to meet more people all the time, because
Right.
I there's so many things that I've used to do for fun.
Fun fact: table tennis was my thing. So when you talk about a Mark Five Tiga racket, or I think we used to call it Stiga, but we're young in Jamaica. Nitaku balls and whatever. And we used to play in the art room. I don't know if you know what the art room was. Did you have an art room when you guys were there?
Um,
Art and crafts, no?
where
In,
in
in
at
Mannings.
Mannings?
In Mannings.
Yeah, of
Okay.
course.
So we used to play in the art room, and I don't know, man. Mr. Coot probably confiscated 5 or 6 of my rackets. He's probably got 15 of my balls till this day, and I'll never forget it. But it was funny because I really believe that we were good enough at the time that someone should have seen that a league should have been started. You know what I mean? I see them guys playing. I see the Jamaica team sometimes, and I'm like, I'm better than them guys. That's you always say that when you see a man serve and thing. So if you had,
No, and I'll agree with you. I'll agree with you 100%. Because listen, going back to even track and field, and I'm trying to make sure that I choose my words very
True Blue
carefully.
Media, man, you have to be bold. True Blue Media, go on with it.
I'm trying to be very careful here, right? Now, if you look at track and field in Jamaica, right, it is very ironic that you find more success out of Eastern Jamaica, right? Right? Even if you find a countryman that is running very well, when you check it out, where does he train? In
Kingston.
Kingston. It is very ironic that that happens, right? And then if it's not in Kingston, right, you find that that person is probably training over Stets with the Stets coach. So it kind of seems like there are some training programs that have done very well over time, right? And you want to ask yourself why. Now, one of the programs that used to do very well in Western Jamaica, particularly Manning School, was netball.
Amazing. Why?
You can double check it. There was a time frame where almost all the netballers that was on the national team was from Manning School. So they had a very good netball program, right? But for some strange reason, we don't continue to invest in sports in Western Jamaica. And because of that, you keep finding that even though you'll have great talent, and this is why I mentioned this, you may have great talent in Western Jamaica. It doesn't get to flourish because there isn't the kind of investment that is needed that you'll see in Kingston, right? See, I put my thumbs up and he giving me a thumbs up. Um,
Nice.
you won't see the amount of um, progress out of Western Jamaica as you'll see in Kingston because of the amount of investment that they actually do up there.
Right.
So I don't doubt that you probably could have been as good as or even better than some of the people that you see on the TV, but for some strange reason, they just don't put the kind of investment down in Western Jamaica in
Yep.
sports. I don't understand why.
Honestly, man, I remember Dave Scott. I think Dave Scott was a D Cup coach at one time. But Dave Scott went to school with us. I think he's a 81 graduate, wicked table tennis player. He had a table tennis table in one of the houses in Amity where he used to live. And on our way home, we used to play table tennis every day. And there was a guy called Victor Spence as well, really good. And I want to say, really good table tennis player. So we had him, but we just never had, there was no support, no support. So. So tell me something. If you had, if money was not a problem, and I said, hey, you're, take a friend to on vacation, where would you go?
That's the problem. I don't even know that if I was like if money was not a problem, I still wouldn't be trying to. Um, Here's what I'll say. I've gotten to a point in my life where I feel like if I was to ask you who is Bush Stewart, you know exactly who he is, right?
Yeah.
And I can call several other names, and you would know exactly who they are, right? But until that, until you heard about me from somebody else, or would have seen my name pop up in a chat, or have had that last conversation I had with you, wouldn't know who is Terrence, right? And that is ultimately one of the things that I'm trying to really change. I want to not necessarily just have my name out there, but I want to create a legacy that has my that allows people to identify who I am, right? So and I say this: if I won the lotto, and I don't mean the Jamaican lotto, I mean the lotto here, and I have, let's say, 500 million US dollars, I still would be trying to grow my business and to try to make a difference so people know exactly who I am. So that's why it's kind of difficult for me to answer that question in terms of if money wasn't a problem, you know, what would I do? In all honesty, I would still be trying to grow my business to the extent where, when people hear about Terrence, they're like, yeah, man, I am do XYZ.
All right. So you've been working really hard and you need to go on a vacation. Where are you going?
You that redirecting the question won't give you a different answer because trust me, my sisters, I have a lot of siblings, so three sisters there, that fourth sister, brother, so six siblings, right? Two of my sisters are actually twins. They're down in Jamaica right now. They actually live here in New York, and they're down in Jamaica. They probably left Jamaica already. Their birthday was a few days ago. They went down to Jamaica to celebrate their birthday. They actually asked me to come, and I said, "Listen, I can't come right now. I'm still working on this. Like, I can't." But
So you're a man with a vision and a serious drive.
yes, sir. That's
Okay.
that's the truth.
Yeah. I'm picking that up. I'm picking it up. Do you get time to read books?
I do read books all the time. Funny enough, the books that I read are usually to help with my growth, to be honest with you.
Nice.
So I'm and I do watch TV. Most of the TV that I watch now are documentaries, really trying to understand the U.S. economy. All the all the crashes that we've gone through. Where what exactly are the things, the identifiers, to and where exactly would you be putting your money, essentially, in the event that something like that should happen. So I do a lot of that. Now, do I watch any other TV? Because I don't want to seem like I'm just this dull person that doesn't do anything. I do. One of my favorite movies, right, was V for Vendetta, right?
Okay. That's
And
an awesome one.
then from a financial standpoint, one of my inspiration was Chris Gardner's story, right? The Pursuit of Happiness, that Will Smith did. That was a good one. That was one of the movies that ultimately told me that New York is the place to be.
I really do like that movie, by the way. And it was even acted really good. It was it was something else with the little boy and stuff. Yep, yep, yep. His son. No, that was great. That was great. Do you do audibles at all?
Audible?
Yeah, the
You
books.
mean for books?
Yeah.
I've never done it. I would try it, but I've never done it. I guess I would have to go investigate how would I be able to get into that, right? Like I usually um will just buy the book and just read the book, right? Whether I'm reading it through my tablet, right? Because I have the Kindle Fire app on my iPad, so I'll read it that way, or I'll buy the hardcover. I tend to prefer to buy the hardcover book because then I'm comfortable just going anywhere with it. I don't have to worry about batteries or anything of that nature. I don't have to charge my iPad. You know what I mean? Like I can just go wherever, right? the upside with the tablet is that if I'm in a dark place, I have the light from the screen,
Right.
right? But the hardcover just allows me to just go in and out anywhere with the book and be able to feel comfortable knowing that, I can whip the book out and I don't have to worry about anything.
Do me a favor, boss man. Do me a
Mhm.
favor,
What's
because
that?
you're younger. Try download the Audibles on your iPhone,
Okay.
and this is how I use it. Especially when I'm on my own, meaning wife isn't in the car, kids aren't in the car, whatever. I turn the Audible on, jump in the car, Bluetooth. The last, I always tell people about, I read Michelle Obama's book, Becoming. Um, and, I jump in the car and the Bluetooth's talking to me. She's talking to me. I'm feeling like I'm sitting on a couch and the person's, just a second there. So, so it makes me feel as though I'm sitting on a couch with someone telling me their story. And it's such a nice feeling, especially when the person does it in their own voice. There's nothing that you could read that would give you that kind of, that kind of vigor. Another thing
Okay.
is, I'll go into another room and I'll say, hey Google, read my book, or Alexa, read my book. And I'll just lie down on my bed and that's going. You know what I mean? And then I run around with these headphones on and. But the idea is that as you get older and someone like you that's probably on a computer a lot and reading a lot, come 6, 7 o'clock, your eyes are going to feel that strain and you're not going to want to be. I know the Kindles are pretty good and whatever, but you're not going to want to do that. So, another question I wanted to ask you is: are you religious? And if you are, how does religion help you in your life?
So that question. So I grew up a Christian, right? I grew up a Christian, and I believe Christianity, or just growing up in the church in general, has molded me in a way to ultimately just be more cognizant of people and that kind of stuff. Now, I can say, well, I haven't gone to church in a very long time, right? Um, and, you know, I do believe, I do believe in God. I don't really follow any particular religion right now, even though I grew up in in church, right? Like I think my challenge ultimately was when I think someone said to me that, well, if you don't believe in this religion, then you're gonna go to hell, right? And I'm like, well, so so all the people that believe in Buddhism and all the people that believe in Allah, they're gonna go to hell, right? I mean, there's one common thing across all religion, and that all of them believe in a God,
Yep.
right? And to say, well, if they don't believe in this version and they don't follow this principle, they're gonna go to hell. I kind of just don't feel comfortable with that, and because of that, I'm like, listen, I believe there's a God. I believe in the Ten Commandments, right? But I just don't want to follow any one particular religion because I just really don't believe that, like, it would be fair to say, listen, all these people who never even was experienced or exposed to another religion, right, who have been following their faith so loyally, right, are gonna go to hell. That to me is unfair. That to me is very unfair,
Do you ever
right?
doubt the existence of a deity?
No, no, I've never doubted that there is a God. I think the challenge that I've always had is just religion in itself, following one particular religion. I mean, let's be realistic, right? Um, if you even believe in the Big Bang Theory, right? Something had allowed that Big Bang to take place, right? Nobody knows what it is, right? And you can think any theory whatsoever, but something allowed something to take place, right? And that's why I'm like, you know what? I believe that there is something or someone out there, right? But in terms of following a specific religion, right? That's where my issue comes to place. I don't want to follow one particular religion.
Buried or
My
cremated?
if my aunt was to ever watch this video, she would call me and she'd probably rebuke me and say she needs to pray for me because my aunt is actually a deacon in church.
Okay. All right. We'll make sure she gets it. Buried or cremated?
Um, I think I would. I don't think it matters actually. I mean, I think cremation would probably be the option primarily because it's less expensive, right? At the end of the day, like you bury me, I'm gonna rot and go right back to the dirt. So if you're just gonna cremate me and throw me my dust on the dirt, same thing, right? It
What do you
doesn't
think
affect.
happens to you when you die?
Well, you break down. Just like if you see a dead animal, you leave it on the ground, it just decays and just breaks down. The only thing that usually is left behind is the bones, right?
So what
Um,
about wait? What about the rapture? Come on.
Listen, you're going into religion
Oh,
again.
okay. I
That's what
understand.
I'm saying.
Okay.
Because different religions have different beliefs.
So
You
you
have
believe you
some.
just saw dead and you just saw it's that's it. You were here and you're gone.
I mean, listen. What do you think is gonna happen? What do you think? Right? Like how
Wait.
many people
Are
have
you asking me that question?
how many people have died already? Look,
Hundred, 100 billion.
how if we even look at what, because nobody really can guarantee that they know exactly how old the earth is, right? You hear different things from time to time, right? And with that being said, right, like the earth has been around, man has been around for a very long time. The amount of people who have died, right? If we are gonna come back, right? I mean, listen, I don't want people to say I'm blaspheming. So
Hey, you know what?
let's
You're
not go any
scared. You're
further with
still scared
religion.
even now. Eh? What are they gonna say? You're gonna everlasting fire, brimstone, and hell.
No, I mean, but in all honesty, I think the difficulty that I have with that is just millions and millions and millions of people have died, and if we're all gonna come back, and all be together, I mean, I don't really understand how that would work, you know.
You
So
know what? You've given me the most interesting answer because you've actually thought about it.
I mean, I have. I've told you. I grew up in the church. I know the Christian religion very well. Of course, I didn't like really study it like how some people have, right? But I've experienced. Like I've gone to the Mormon church, and I learned a little bit about the Mormons, right? And then at one point, I was reading the Quran. So I get to understand these different religions and what they all believe in, and I'm like, all of them believe in a God, right? All these religions, with the exception of probably Hindu, right, believe that there's a God. I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, that Hinduism, they believe in worshiping a cow. Don't quote me on that because I don't really know. I know you're recording me, so you can pretty much say this is
No,
what Terrence
you
said,
are correct. You are correct. No,
right?
honestly, and Hindus ain't they're not eating beef neither.
Right. So with that being said, right, like everybody else, they believe in not Hindus, the Muslims, they believe in Allah. What's the other one? Mormons, they believe in God, right? But they believe there is a new Messiah that now walks among us, right? And stuff like that. So, I do believe, genuinely, I do believe that there is a God. That's that much I can say, right? But in
You know what?
terms
You know.
of,
You know what? I actually believe you.
mhm. So what? So me believe?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I believe you. You sound convincing, man.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, nobody has been able to
Come back.
definitively say
Yeah.
there is absolutely no way that there is a God. They will say that, listen, you know, evidence have shown that this is how the earth started, blah blah blah. But nobody can say, you know what, what sparked those two atoms together to create this sperm,
Right.
right?
Yep. No, I
Yeah,
hear
let's
you.
say it happens by natural causes. But guess what? You can't say that natural cause wasn't an actual supreme being that say, all right, you know what? Boom, there
Yep.
is the earth,
Yep.
right? So, nobody has been able to definitively say that there is absolutely no God, right? There has been theories as to how the earth came about and stuff like that, but they have not been able to say that there is no existence of God. Um, and with that being said, right, like with who am I to say that there isn't one when nobody else, some of the smartest people on the planet, right, have not been able to definitively say, nope, that's stories, don't believe it. So, you know,
Okay. Hey, tell me about a high point in your life.
um, there's been a few, um, when I came here, and I think I spoke about it, right, in terms of watching the movie Pursuit of Happiness, right? And then when I came here and started on my path to be a financial advisor, financial planner, right? I didn't know how much it was going to take to be able to achieve that or just be able to have the title in itself, right? And you start in the industry. When I started just as an insurance agent, right? So you get to know the ins and outs of the insurance industry, right? And as an agent, right, you have to take all these license exams to be able to even just just be able to do securities products, right? So I think officially when I got all the license that were needed and was officially able to say legally and put it on my title, right? A financial planner, right? Investment advisor representative, financial advisor. When I officially was able to say that legally, I just felt like, with all the things that I've gone through, my failures and all that kind of stuff, like I feel like I genuinely can say, you know what, I achieved something, right? There's still more to go, but ultimately, just being able, taking on all those tasks and be able to persevere long enough to be able to achieve that. It was a task that I set out to achieve, and then when I was able to, I was like, check. you know so that was a very high point in my life for me.
How about a low point in your life and how did you overcome that? The journey to overcome it. What was that about?
Low point in my life, I feel like there've been a few because I haven't had the ultimate success that I've gone out to achieve, right? And
Why do
time
I
again.
think you're kind of hard on yourself? You just seem to be that guy with that pursuit of getting up that ladder. You look like you may want to do it much quicker than. I think you put yourself under pressure, but I may be wrong.
That I mean, true. I do put myself under pressure to get stuff that I'm trying to achieve. But I mean, just reflecting back when I was much younger, right? Like one of the things that I genuinely thought I was gonna do, I was gonna break the 400-meter record, Michael Johnson's 43 seconds 400. right? 43.18. I remember it like it was yesterday. I knew I was going to do it because I was running so well, right? And I never did it. No, right? I'm I'm too old. I'm not an old guy, right? But I'm too old. I'm on the tail end of, if you know, if you look at you saying he retired, right? He retired because he was getting older, right? And you want to retire when your body is saying, listen, that's enough. And pretty much I wasn't doing as great as I would have liked to, right? Even in high school, there was a point where I wasn't running very well, and it wasn't because of a lack of talent. It was just not happening, you know. And even now, like this last Olympics, I was watching the Olympics, and I'm seeing the performance of the folks there, and then you look back and you're like, I didn't do it. This was one of the things that I had set out to do, and I didn't do it. So setting any task, anything I set on my agenda to do, I fail at it. It it really weighs on me, and that, not having the kind of success that I thought, still do think that I ultimately could have, once I start to watch any kind of major sports, it brings the memory back, and it kind of just weighs on me that that was one of the failures.
What are you very passionate about?
I think the my passion ultimately is chasing legendary status. I think that's what it is, right? Because of course I was very passionate about breaking that 400-meter record as an athlete, and then when that didn't happen, you switch focus to something else, right? And if that's not, if you fail at that, then you switch focus to something else. No, the primary focus, that I feel like the only thing that can stop me from achieving this is probably death, is my business, right? So I think it's ultimately chasing legendary status, just being able to be recognized for someone that was very good at what they did, right? It's not so much about the money, right? For me, it's not. And I say it all the time, because when I talk to people, they're like, yeah, I mean, you sounds like you're just chasing money. And I'm like, in all honesty, that's that's not the truth. The money is just the medal, right? Like, if you win, you get a medal, right? And that, so the medal comes with it, but it's I'm not chasing that. It's just, I need to be able to be great at something, right? And right now, I really, the technicality of helping people with their finances and stuff like that with my financial planning practice, is something that I'm very, very passionate about. And right now I'm trying to grow that practice to create that legendary status, one
Okay,
of the greats from a financial planning standpoint.
cool. So is that measure, is that going to be increasing your client base? Is that a key performance indicator for you, or is it having larger portfolios? What's more important to you?
So I think right now, if you were to look at some of the best financial advisors, right, they kind of measure them, unfortunately, by the assets that they have under management. So so of course, right, I definitely would love to be able to um grow the portfolio to have a large book, right? But then, if you just have one client that has $500 billion, right? Like, how good of an advisor are you? You're only managing the assets of one client. Unlikely that that would be the case, right? But if that is the case, then how good of a manager are you if you're only managing the assets of one person? So ultimately, I mean, listen, I have clients, very small clients, that pretty much their goal is just to be able to retire successfully, right? Not have to worry that they don't have they not have to worry that they won't be able to pay their bills, right? So they don't have millions of dollars. And even with those kind of clients, I really value, right, just being able to help them out and make sure that they can achieve that goal. It's like I achieve my goal through them, right? Because if they win, I win, right? um, but of course, I feel like to have the ultimate success is not necessarily only to just have a lot of clients or grow a lot of assets, but to have, a business. And when I say a business, I feel like you only have a business when you can pass the fishing test.
What's that?
You can go fish, and you're still getting paid,
Okay, nice
right?
one, nice one, nice one.
If you can't get paid when you're going to fish, then you pretty much just bought yourself a job,
I
right?
think Warren Buffett said something similar to that.
Exactly, right? If for instance, let's say you're a barber, right? If you're a barber, you have your own barber shop, but when you close up shop and you take a vacation, you can't get paid, right? Because there's no revenue coming in, so you have to go back into that shop. Now, if you're a barber and you have other barbers that pretty much probably are paying for their chair, right? When you leave, guess what? The money is still coming in because they're paying for their chair. So you've passed the fishing test, right? So, that's the goal, being able to pass the fishing test pretty much, not necessarily have to be physically always be doing the work, but still
Yourself.
being able to get paid.
I have two more questions for you, sir. When you think of the future, are you hopeful?
I definitely am hopeful. I mean, listen, if you look back through history, the world have gone through a lot historically, right? Funny enough, we always find a way to bounce back, right? I feel like human the human nature, right? When we hit rock bottom, right? You're going to have some people that is not going to be able to survive rock bottom, but there are some fighters among us, right? And those people always find a way. I think last time we had a conversation and we were talking about sales, I mentioned about the people that may not necessarily have had the biggest success in high school, right? But they find a way to make money. You go to the stoplight, somebody trying to wash your car, wash your windshield, right? You have the people that are out there, the vendors that will be selling fruits. You have people that will come out there, mothers there, they're selling flowers, right? They find some kind of
Shrimps, anything.
unique way, exactly, right? And therefore, even if the economy, the world economy was to go all the way to the ground, I feel like people would find a way, right? To, if we have to go back, right back down to when we used to barter, people will find a way, and it will continue to work its way back up to where it is today.
You reminded me of a question,
Hmm.
and I want you to talk. I want you to wrestle this question because me and you spoke about it before.
Hmm.
Crime, violence, and poverty. I need you to clarify what you said to me and Mr. McDonald about that. I just wanted to hear where you, yeah, what's your version? Crime and violence, poverty.
So, I remember specifically when I was a child living in Blackheath, very, 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 very rural area, right? Pretty much just farmers, poor people living in that area, right? It would be very rare that you ever heard of any kind of crime, right? If someone, if someone, somebody fight and somebody hurt somebody else, that would be big news in the entire community because that was not something that was common there,
Are you
right?
saying those people were poor?
Of course.
Poor is relative, but I'm gonna, we could, keep going, keep going. Poor, okay. Oh, they're,
Listen,
they're farmers. Farmers, can they
I
feed themselves?
they can feed themselves, but I'm talking about having that paper to be able to go and buy whatever they want, of course.
Okay.
um and that's usually what they use to measure wealth.
Paper. Yeah.
What you actually, how you're able to attain what you want, not necessarily just being able to take
So
care of
your
your
argument is
family.
just because you're poor doesn't make you violent and a criminal.
Right.
Okay.
Now, if you realize very often, right, crime is usually close to where the inner city areas are, where those folks just prefer a very fast life, right? Doesn't necessarily mean that, and you find, I mean, look at scamming. The people that usually are killing each other when it comes to scamming, these are people that are handling a lot of money, but easy come, right? It's very fast money, and therefore, right, they're willing to do whatever it takes to keep this money, right? Quite often the people that are on the poorer end, that work very hard, it is not very quickly that they resort to violence, right? So
So
I
explain
don't.
to me why you think. Okay, do you think there's a correlation between the town people and the lack of abundance of arable land where they can get fruits and vegetables and ground provisions? Wherein if you live in a Kingston, Spanish town, maybe you don't have that kind of luxury. Could that be something going on?
I feel like, so, you'll have people that genuinely were just born in the inner city areas, right? That's what they know. They don't want to move from there. They're closer to family, right? But you have quite often a lot of the people that move towards the inner city areas are usually people that just prefer a faster way of life, right? And therefore, I don't see there's a correlation as to, them, because they're there, they don't have access to that. I feel like they do have access, because if they wanted to move away from the inner city, there is that much land available for people to be able to do that. Case in point, there are a lot of people who are born in New York, right, that at some point they're like, I don't really like New York, and they'll move to Florida, or they'll move to Georgia, right? Because there is accessibility elsewhere, and it's probably less expensive elsewhere, or probably it's just the weather, right? But then there are people that are like, listen, no, I love the speed of New York City, right? I don't want to move out of New York City. Like, I remember going to Georgia one time, right? And I ended up, like, I took the so I flew down there, and because I'm so used to New York, and how to move around, I flew down there. I took the bus, right, from the airport to the closest bus stop to where I was gonna stay, and then I thought probably it would have been closer to where I was gonna stay, and then I ended up having to walk how many miles to the house, right? There wasn't even street lights, right?
Countryman.
I don't want to have to deal with that kind of stuff. I prefer to be able to move around very easily, that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't live in New York City. I live on Long Island, which essentially, is a little bit more, what should I say, suburban. But at the end of the day, I like being able to be close enough to the city, right? So I can get to enjoy the city and still have, more space for my suburban lifestyle. I don't want to live in some era where it's really like total, like, isolation. That being said, I do believe that people have access to land, and be able to have that kind of stuff, but their lifestyle, their personality, they probably will prefer to stay to where they have a much faster lifestyle. And because of that, right, quite often you'll realize the kind of people that would be more drawn to doing quote unquote illegal things, right? Because they prefer the fast lifestyle. It's not necessarily because they're poor, right?
Okay.
Because I know people who did not have anything, right? I'm sure you can talk to A lot of man in school students who say, "Boy, you know, me never really." I remember one friend of mine who used to come to school. One shoes him have and the shoes bottom they drop off, and instead of the virgin go a shoemaker, him use some. I think it was like maybe 2 or 3 inch nail. The man knocked through the shoes, so the shoes have the nail pushing through the shoes, coming to man in school, right? I never hear to this day. Never hear him do any illegal activity. He's living here in the United States right now. Started a family, married him and his wife. The wife went married to that young lady was went to man in school with him. They're still together today. They're raising their family and they're living normal, legal lives, right? I never hear that young man, right? Try to do no dialing or do any kind of illegal activity.
Dialing.
And the man used to have
I
and
like
the
that.
man used to have 2 inch nail in him shoes because him couldn't get another shoes.
How do you manage your mental health?
Mental health, you know, I've never, I think I've seen a psychologist once in my lifetime, and that was one of the lowest time frames of my life. I think I was going through depression. Don't want to go into that, um, but that was another time where I think I hit rock bottom. I had real ultimate failure. I think that was one of the biggest failure I ever had in my life. I hit rock bottom. I went into depression. Actually, was on medication for that. But since then, I've never gone that low. But I think I remember specifically when I was there and when I came out after that, I said, I must be super strong because I was like, how did I not go crazy? Honestly, that's depression is real.
What's really, when I talk to people, what I'm learning slowly, I learn that a lot of these things we talk about is a spectrum, okay? So you may have gone through something and you may have gone through real depression for you, real rock bottom. You know, I can actually say the same thing, but the thing about what I'm trying to say to you is you start going around to people and talking to them. We all have come, you talk to people and you may say, boy, I'm gonna hide this because it's very special to me. But I'm here to tell you, you ain't the only one. You know what I mean? You really ain't the only one. And I think the more people talk about these things, the more we realize we're much more similar than we are. In Jamaica, we grow up, and I only spent 5 years in Jamaica, but we think a madman no have on no clothes and is in a dumpster. You get me? We just think that. But some man in a suit and tie go work all day and they mad no hell. You know what I mean? It's probably if they don't have one wife to clean them up and point them in the right direction because it's a purpose thing. My last question to you, sir, is if you could go back and talk to your 18-year-old self, what would you say?
I'd love if I could go back even further, right? To when I was 15 years old, right? But ultimately, if I could go back to 18, I would genuinely
15's okay. Just tell me, what would you say to yourself?
leave girls alone.
Okay,
That's
okay,
probably the
okay.
first thing what I say, right? But otherwise from that, I genuinely would have tried to be much more focused when it came to education, right? Um, Not really so much because, funny enough, I wasn't a follower because I always had a lot of people around me, but I I was very easily distracted just the same. And I feel like if had I not, have the distractions, I would have achieved some of the things that I'm working on now, probably a little bit earlier because I did my masters last year, right? And I was, I mean, I'm 37, right? I'm not an old guy, but I was like, the fact that I left fifth form at 16, right, and started undergrad at 19, I genuinely don't believe that I should be still be at school in my 30s, you know? And I feel like that was primarily because I was sidetracked a lot. I allowed myself to be sidetracked a lot because when you're younger, you feel like you have all the time in the world, you know? And that's one of the things that I probably would have told myself, not to get sidetracked.
With all that said, where do you have you still got big rungs in your ladder? Has Terrence Fenton still got waymarks that he still wants to achieve, and is putting himself under constant pressure even now?
Yeah, of course. I mean, listen, when I put it this way, I think it was 2020, 2020. I remember going to the doctor's office in Montego Bay, right? Right before I flew up. Went to the doctor's office in Montego Bay. Remember, um, I went to I went to Monroe Six Farm, right? At that time, I was 17 years old, 17, 18. I went to Monroe Six Farm, and you know, I went to the doctor 2020, right? And registered everything, sit down, and they call you in, and the doctor is ready for you. My doctor was actually someone I went to school with. When I was in sixth form, he was in fifth form. He's my doctor. Now I'm proud that he achieved what he did, right? But then I was like, wait, so what am I doing? Like everybody's doing their thing, achieving their goals. What am I waiting for? You know? So when I see stuff like that, I'm really happy for people doing the things that they, set out to do. But then I start wondering about myself, like, wait, why did you waste so much time? Because I can tell you, there are a lot of people that I went to school with that after school, they went straight into university, and then after university, they went straight into their careers, right? And for some strange reason, I just kind of feel like I just was rolling around, not doing anything. And now, I'm like, wait, time is running out. So, just to answer your question, yes, I do put myself under constant pressure because I feel like a lot of the stuff that I'm pursuing right now, I should have already achieved them, and therefore, it kind of weighs on me that I wasted time.
Wow. Well, you are the hardest I've ever seen on themselves. When do you spend time on Terrence? When does Terrence become selfish and reckless? I have a Jamaican cigar whenever I want, and I have a rum and coke whenever I want. Sorry, not between work hours, but you understand what I mean. But the moral of the story is, when do you do something cheeky for yourself? Eat chocolate, go to the movies, just indulge you.
I mean, there are maybe like a few weekends where I'll go to the bar, have a few drinks, spend a few hours out. Um, but I feel like I did a lot of that, right? Like I did a lot of that in college, and I did a lot of that, like, when I was in Montego Bay for a little time when I was working, and so then I'm like, no, man, like, no, I mean, like, seriously, living in Montego Bay, right? There was a point in time in my life where that, like, I feel like I was on top of the moon, like, yeah,
Okay.
I'm good, like,
But you're still young.
so I would be partying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and if somebody called me out on a Sunday, I'd probably go too, and probably on a Monday,
All right.
and then when I left Jamaica, I think that was one of the awakening when I left Jamaica. I don't know if you've ever been to New York,
Yes.
and I was in Manhattan, and I just felt small. And I was like, so all this time I'm living like I'm on top of the world, and
You're nothing.
just being a man. I felt like I was nothing, and
Insignificant.
I was like, man, I wasted a lot of time, you know, and that, uh, that kind of created a shift for me. So yes, I do on occasion, go to the bar, have a few drinks, and chat with some people. But then, once I sober up and everything, I remember that I still have a goal. Right back at it.
Hey, Terrence, I want to really thank you for spending the time. I know it was hard for me to pin you down, but I knew it was going to happen. I'm really grateful that you spent the time to, come and talk to me on this platform. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it. But the thing I'm taking away from this is this king doesn't know how great he is, and he puts a lot of pressure on himself. That's all I'm saying. That's my view. Thanks again, man.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Not a problem. Anytime.
All right.
Hey, if you want more content like this, please like and subscribe to True Blue Media. And once again, thank you very much, Terrence, for taking the time and meeting with me.